All right, joining us now for more is the host of the Michael Knowles Show, Michael Knowles, who was at the White House today, I believe, with his family. Michael, great to see you again. The Pope passing, I understand that many conservative Catholics criticized his papacy at times. What is his legacy to you?
Well, you're right. I was at the White House this morning, and I learned of the news at 6 a.m. when I was getting my tickets for the Easter egg roll. I take off about one morning from my show per year, and I realized I picked the wrong morning to take off. So I was processing this right at dawn as I was walking back to the hotel, and I think the most notable aspect for me of the Francis pontificate is that our modern left-right paradigm does not map neatly onto ancient institutions. We have one ancient institution in particular that has survived into modernity. St. Augustine calls her ever ancient, ever new. That is the church. And so it's easy to say that Pope Francis is a liberal. All the nice things that he supposedly said about Joe Biden, the fact that he made all sorts of claims about immigration and open borders. But then on the other hand, right when you think you've nailed him down, he'll come out and say that same-sex marriage is a machination of the father of lies that seeks to deceive and confuse the children of God. Right when you think he's going liberal on social issues, he'll say that to procure an abortion is to hire an assassin. He'll mock the notion of transgenderism. And so I think that the church just tends to transcend this modern left-right paradigm. There are all sorts of questions. There was a bit of confusion from Pope Francis's pontificate. So what should conservatives do? You know, I'm a conservative. I'm a Catholic. I love the traditional Latin Mass, which was restricted under Pope Francis's pontificate. What should we do? The typical Catholic response is to pray for Pope Francis. In our modern religion, we just assume that people go straight up to heaven. You know, oh, he's looking down on us right now. Modern funerals have become celebrations of life, where people just give eulogies about how good the dead person is.
Right.
But Catholics traditionally understand that we're not particularly good. Actually, only God is good. And so at the Catholic funeral, we actually pray for the dead. And the funeral mass is a holy sacrifice for the benefit of the dead. So that's, I think, what we should do. We should pray for Pope Francis, whatever you thought about him and his pontificate, and we should pray and hope for a good pontificate to follow.
And I understand that. I think, you know, when Jimmy Carter died, I struggled with that in the immediate aftermath. And I thought, okay, here's a guy that was probably another good and decent man, but not a good president. And when we're talking about him, I think that our coverage should reflect that. This Pope also called abortionists hitmen. So I struggle with the narrative that he's a woke Pope, but I didn't understand why he would vocally criticize the Trump administration, which is not at 100 days yet, and he gave Nancy Pelosi communion, and he gave Joe Biden communion, and there was no issue with any of their politics.
Of course, you know, there are debates to be had over immigration, the right number of people to permit into a country. Actually, Vice President Vance stated this very well when he discussed the deeply Christian concept of the Ordo Amoris, the Ordo Caritatis, the hierarchies of love and the order of charity. All of that is wonderful for debate. Certain issues, though, are non-negotiable, like the right to life, for instance, which, as Pope John Paul II pointed out, is not one right among many, but it is actually the foundational right from which all of the other rights flow. So, yes, I think a lot of people wish that while Pope Francis was clear as day on the evil of abortion and the necessity to defend life, certainly there are many conservatives who said, well, hold on, why weren't you a little tougher on Joe Biden or Nancy Pelosi? Why focus so much on Trump or J.D. Vance? And these are all the kinds of political debates that are going to occur. However, I think there's one thing that we have to be very, very grateful to Pope Francis for, which, and I can speak to this personally, actually. A lot of people converted to Catholicism under Pope Francis. And the irony of it is that many of those people who converted, you had record baptisms on Sunday in France. England now, the Catholics are outnumbering the Anglicans in terms of practicing believers. Right. The irony is that many of those converts are extremely conservative, are traditionalists.
Is that a fact in England?
The kinds of people who might have questions.
Michael, I didn't realize
yeah.
that. Is that so the Church of England is now outnumbered by Catholics in England? That's a fact?
There was a big story last week. I don't know in terms of people who would call themselves Anglican or Catholic, but
right.
in terms of people who are practicing, who regularly attend Mass and avail themselves of the sacraments. Yes, it took about 500 years, but Catholicism is back in England.
That's good. Let me ask you, so you're at the White House Easter egg roll with your family this morning. So a year ago today, we had the White House Easter egg roll, and Easter celebrations at the White House with Trans Day of Visibility. And now the light has returned. What was the mood there today? What was that like?
It was marvelous. It was just so well done, so big thank you to the president, the first lady, the whole White House staff. They did just a phenomenal job with the Easter egg roll. There were no transvestite men bearing their chests. There were no bunnies ushering the president off the stage. It was just good old-fashioned fun. The most notable thing about the White House Easter egg roll was how normal it was. Kids going around, playing with their Easter eggs, eating candy, and I think this is reflective of the Trump administration broadly. The return of President Trump feels like the return of normal. That's a little paradoxical too, because President Trump is a big character, but I think that's what people voted for, and I think that's what people have gotten.
No, I'm with you. And you look at that bunny right there, and it's just a normal, good-looking bunny, and I like that. I don't understand why Biden's bunny had a mask on for 2 years and then had glasses too. So let's make the poor bunny hard of he has bad eyesight, and he's got to wear glasses as well. And look at his ears and his foolish thing. Trump's bunny is like Disney quality, like very good, and Biden's bunny is that's just Joe Biden right there.
Biden's bunny was reflective of the health of the country under Biden. We were all sick. We were myopic. We couldn't see ahead of us. Trump's bunny, you're right. I mean,
right?
We have another phrase, a good Latin phrase that Catholics like, nomen est omen, okay? Names are signs of things to come. And with a name like Trump, I don't know, it feels triumphant again. And we saw that today with some good old-fashioned fun on the South Lawn, and I think we're looking forward to it more broadly.
It means Biden's bunny also had COVID-19 at that time. That's a famous saying. Michael Knowles, great to see you. Thanks so much for being with us. Come back soon. Thank you.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.